Hey, it's only 1 o'clock. Hey, everybody, guess what? We're back. We're live. We've got Heath Clark with us with H. Clark Distillery. Actually, he's going to talk about something new today. So we're excited to talk about that this snow day. You should have sent over some samples for us, right?
I know. Right. I should have brought
How's
more
it
at
going
home.
today?
That's good. It's oddly enough, the 2 snow days have been kind of nice for me. I've been kind of running wide open with the holidays and all the planning and building with the company distilling in the airport, and so I was real behind on a lot of communication and paperwork, and so I've been forced to sit still and get it done. So I'm grateful for the snow.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So just opening, was it last week or the week before at the Nashville International Airport, Three Casks. It's part of the Tennessee Whiskey Trail. But you were there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Three Casks is a new restaurant that opened at Nashville International Airport. I guess the official opening date was January 30. And so that's been nearly 5 years in the making. It was a good solid 4 years when the airport announced that this construction project was a go and that they were going to be revitalizing their concessions program with a heavy emphasis on local. And so, if you walk through BNA recently, they've got a great, a big, like Tootsie's in there, Sweats, Pyramid Cafe. So a lot of the, barista parlor, a lot of the good local joints you see in and around Nashville are now represented in the airport. The Tennessee Distillery Field, we wanted to be, part of that renovation as well. So we got real aggressive in figuring out the rules of the game and figuring out how to play a part in that. And so, there was, finding a way to get a bid in, getting the bid, and then the last, really 2.5, 3 years of construction and delays and COVID and lots of stuff.
Oh,
It's taken a long time to get it open. I mean, it's kind of nuts, with if anybody's ever built a house or, just anything, you're typically dealing with your local codes department and utilities. So you take that and add, the airport authority, metro codes, federal regulations, state regulations, the concessions vendor, the concessions operator. It was, we're here. I'm glad it's over.
So tell us exactly about what Three Cask offers at the airport. I want to go back and talk about the opening because I saw you carrying in, what was it, an old Moonshine distill?
Yeah.
There's got to be a good story about that.
It's kind of nuts. Yeah. So our operator for that store is a wonderful group out of Minneapolis. They're called Aero Services Group, and they operate some facilities in the Minneapolis airport and Baltimore, Dallas. And so they're small and family owned, and we got to know those guys really well in this process. And right before we started construction, they were like, hey, do you think we could get a moonshine still for the airport? And so I was like, well, let me make some calls. And so I called, I grew up in Winchester, between Winchester and Tullahoma on a small farm. And, one of our family friends is really, really family. So he's the sheriff of Franklin County, a gentleman named Tim Fuller. And so Sheriff Fuller, one of his brothers was my preacher growing up. His other brother married one of my cousins, and he's been the sheriff for a long time. So I call him. He helps us farm. He cuts our hay every year, and that's been a great neighbor and friend over my lifetime. And so I called Tim, and I was like, hey, where could a man find a moonshine still? And so,
not a typical question you ask someone.
No, not the sheriff, right?
No, right.
And so. He let me know that a dear friend of mine that I grew up with named George Dyer, George was a good, just close friend of mine all through. I met him in kindergarten. We went through K through 12 together, played football together, ran in the same circles. He's just a lifetime friend. So he calls me. Sheriff Fuller says that George is going to give me a call the next day, and so George joined the Franklin County Police Department, and has been on their sort of drug task force for several years. So George calls me the next day and is like, "Hey, I hear you're looking for a moonshine still." I'm like, yeah. And so he's like, "Well, I think I got something that might interest you." And so he kind of tells me the story on it. It's like it's just insanely, you can't make it up. So part of, if you're familiar with Franklin County, half of it's flat. It's where Timms Ford Lake is. A lot of people from the Nashville area go down there on the weekends and enjoy the lake. And then half of it's mountains. It's like Monteagle and all the way to Jackson, Alabama is it's all very, so the beginning of the Cumberland Plateau, and it's incredibly hilly and very remote. And so one section of Franklin County is known as Sherwood. It's really remote, way back, nearly Alabama, nearly Marion County. So it's hard to get to. And so George was in Sherwood, up on Sherwood Mountain, serving a drug warrant on an individual allegedly making some meth. And so he had executed the warrant, arrested the people they needed to arrest, and we're just kind of walking around the property, and walks behind a shed and sees this moonshine still that's working.
Oh, wow.
Whiskey and liquor and mash tubs going. And so the guy's place where they had served the warrant the guy's name is Robin Hood. And so you got Robin Hood, Sherwood making whiskey.
Oh, wow.
So they seize this still. And so George, him and another detective came up to Thompson Station with not one, but 3 moonshine stills that they had taken from this place. And so they had jars, and they had, condensers and burners, everything but the actual liquor. It somehow managed to disappear from the evidence locker. And so they executed this warrant back in 2009. This thing had been collecting dust in the Franklin County Sheriff's Department's evidence room for a while, and frankly, they just want to get rid of it. They're like, we're going to get extra room, so he brought it up. It sat in our distillery for a couple of years during all the delays with COVID and everything else. And so on Wednesday the 29th, Sheriff Fuller and George and some other folks that I grew up with that are now on the Sheriff's Department force in Franklin County came up and helped deliver it to Three Casks, which was a lot of fun. So we showed up in a couple of patrol cars, had the still in the back, a lot of wide-eyed people at the airport.
I was like, what is happening?
Yeah. And so all the deputies were armed. And so the airport security is like, well, we've got to do some stuff about that. So they brought out like drug dogs. And then so we had 2 armed airport security escorts for the still. And then, I think 5, county police officers. And so we were just kind of having a good time. But the airport guys were on point. And so, Three Casks is located on C concourse all the way to the back of that terminal. And so we walked through past everybody, past security, past everybody. And a few people knew what they were looking at, and their eyes would get real big. And it was fun and absurd, and just a great day. Help our law enforcement across the state do a great job keeping us safe from illicit products. It was nice, for Sheriff Fuller and George and some of those guys who, have a tough job to get a little recognition and have a good time doing it. So that still is now on permanent display at Three Casks. There's a little plaque above it that tells the story a little bit. And so with Three Casks, they make all their food from scratch. Their food is delicious. They serve only Tennessee Distillers Guild spirits, Tennessee Brewer Guild beers. And now they have a legitimate piece of our moonshine heritage on display for 20 some million people every year to take in as they visit Tennessee.
I love that. I think I saw a picture. I think it was you. Was the moonshine distiller? Was it on like a dolly or something, or a cart?
Yeah, it was a little cart. It's what we use. I use it to like haul chairs to soccer games. So we set it down in there.
I saw that. I saw
It's
that. I am sure. I wish I had seen the pictures of the people who saw you walk by, though. We didn't get any of that. I didn't get any of that.
no, we had, we had a few couple people filming, from the airport, and Becky was, sport to come walk through there and help us document all that. And so those were some priceless images. I wish I could have taken some pictures of them too. It was just, it was New Year's. There's a lot of people in the airport that time
Yeah.
of year, and yeah, it was kind of silly. It was fun.
Tell me about what this means, because now when you come to the airports, visitors they may be passing through Nashville, they may not be staying, or they may not think to put the Tennessee Whiskey Trail on their list of things to see. But now they don't even have to leave the airport and they can experience this. What do you think this means for the whole trail?
It's another way to just showcase what we do, really well in this state. Tennessee accounts for 55% of our nation's spirits exports, and so as a state, people know us internationally. There's more. If Jack Daniel's were to be considered bourbon, they make more bourbon than the entire state of Kentucky combined, and so it's one of those things that with our legacy distilleries like Jack and George. People know us all across the globe, and then for the last 10 years, we've had an enormous amount of success in the craft space, and some of our craft distillers are finally getting to that point where we've got mature whiskey and building that reputation and brand all across the state. And so we've been very deliberate in trying to introduce visitors to the Tennessee Whiskey Trail and get in their way and make spirits a part of Tennessee vacation, whether you're here to see a football game or a hockey game or a concert or just have a good time in downtown Nashville or Franklin or Memphis or where your interest leads you. When you're coming through BNA, you've got a chance to maybe grab a glass of spirit that you weren't able to make it to their distillery, or you really enjoyed something and you need a little help getting home, or lately if your flight's canceled and you've got to spend 3 days in the airport,
Yeah.
right, you've got a wonderful place to extend your experience.
Right. Well, I'm glad that that's open. I was dying to know the story behind the Moonshine distill I saw the picture and I was very confused. So I'm glad you told us how I got there.
It's fun. Yeah, truth
So
stranger than fiction on this one.
exactly, which is always makes for the best stories, right?
Yeah, it really does.
So if you're flying out anytime, maybe spring break or this weekend or anytime coming up, it's what concourse again? C?
It's on C concourse, so all the way near the end. So if you fly Southwest a lot, there's sort of a cul-de-sac at the end of that concourse with 4 or 5 Southwest gates that are always full of very thirsty people. So Three Casks is right, right next door to all those guys, and so we're happy to be there. And so it's worth the walk. The one of the reasons we chose to work with Arrow when we came through this process is Chris Tatum and I. He was another member of the guild. He's actually now one of my partners in company distilling. But we went to Minneapolis to try out their concepts at the Minneapolis airport, and we're just absolutely blown away by what they were able to do in tight spaces. And so everything they do is really first class. And so we're happy to be affiliated with those guys and have our brands together on the walls of a national airport.
Yeah, that's impressive. Hey, thanks for telling us about that. What else do you have coming up? You have some other projects in the works right now?
Donna, we've known each other a little while. There's always something cooking. So yeah, we've got a lot. So we recently with H. Clark, we've sort of joined up with some other folks to take our experience to a different level. And so we're going to be we're now part of company distilling, and so we are a new group of old distillers. So it's myself, a guy named Jeff Arnett, who was with Jack Daniel's for the last 20 years as their master distiller. Chris Tatum, who was with Old Forge out of Pigeon Forge. Kevin Clayton, who you know from Clayton Homes, and a host of other very talented people. And so we're sort of rebranding, our Thompson Station enterprise as we speak. We're building a new distillery in Townsend, and so also Alcoa's in a design phase. So we're going to have a sort of 3 location operation over the next couple of years, where we really try to bring the best of Tennessee to everybody who wants to come see us.
Well, hopefully soon things will move a little faster for all of us, and
Like pulling teeth,
we
yeah, that's
can,
crazy.
and we can hear more about that, and hopefully, the snow should be gone by the next couple of days. But after that, hopefully you can tell us more about this project.
Would love to. Anytime you want to talk about it, I'd be happy.
All right. Yes. Well, happy snow day to everyone. I think
too, Donna.
tomorrow should be better day for us if you want to get out, if you want to brave. I know our neighborhood roads don't look good, so hopefully by tomorrow.
No, snowplows came by our house at 4 o'clock this morning.
Oh,
Yeah, but they didn't do any good. So when the sun came up, it was like an ice skating rink out there. So.
I know. And speaking of ice skating, you want to go downtown Nashville, Bridgestone, the U.S. Figure Skating Championships are this weekend. So you want to see how the professionals do on the ice.
Yeah, I'm just, if I can not fall in my driveway, I'm going to declare victory. I think that's sort of
I hear it. That's a win. That's a win for me. That's a win for me. All right. Hey, everybody, have a great weekend. Hey, Heath, thanks again for joining us
and
telling us that story. I love it. I can't wait. Now when I go by the airport, I'm just going to go to Concourse C just so I can see that.
Oh, you should grab a drink, take a picture of the still, and it'll make your flight smoother, even if it's not.
There you go. All right. Thanks again. See you, buddy.
Thank you.
Bye.